Well, what is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Mike Goolsby live on a Sunday night. We both have new setups. My office got moved around. And Mike, talk to me about the desk, man. This looks fantastic, man.
Yeah, I got a bunch of old mid-century furniture from the old house, and trying to create like a podcast studio / office. So work with me, folks. You know, we're going at piecing it together as we go along, but doing my best, buddy. But yeah, happy to be settled in and try to put a better product out there.
I'm wondering how much for you to put the helmet on during the stream. Like what's that super chat gotta be? I'm joking. Unless you just want to throw it on.
Oh, I think it comes down to and I got a jersey. I got a jersey that I got to figure out how to get that hung up. But I'll do both. We knock off Texas A&M. We're going jersey, helmet. I'm in.
I love it. Well, folks,
forget the super chat. It comes down to the win.
There you go. All right, no, don't super chat it, folks. We're just going to do that after Notre Dame beats Texas A&M on the road. Yeah, so we have a lot to talk about, even though, the football season is over for Notre Dame. That A&M game is not for a while, but we have a lot to discuss. We're going to bring in Tim Hyde in just a moment. We had this quick super chat from Q here. He says, Goolsby, from a player's perspective, walk us through game prep during the season, starting with Sunday, Goolsby. I don't know how quickly you can run through this, Mike, but do you want to give thoughts on this?
So let's say, real quick. So let's say you played Michigan State. You're going to bust back. You get back late at night / early morning. You got to talk to all the dudes in the dorm. What happened? Go to sleep, wake up Sunday. You're right back at the stadium for like a lift, a run to get the soreness out. Of course, that you want to run the day after a game. Maybe that's old school. Watch film, and then you're right back into the swing of things. Class on Monday, practice, lift, etc. I mean, it's very much Groundhog's Day during the season. And then you've got walkthroughs. Later into the week, you travel. Friday you'll travel. You'll do a walkthrough Friday night / Saturday morning, depending on when the game's being kicked off. But that's pretty much it. There's definitely no rest for the wicked in terms of Notre Dame players in season.
Okay.
How's that, Mike?
I appreciate the super chat. Good explanation, Goolsby. For folks watching on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Of course, subscribe to our channel for more Notre Dame football and recruiting content if you are new here. And go to blueandgold.com, your home for all things Notre Dame football coverage. And I'll go ahead and bring in Tim Hyde. Tim, do you have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, all those good things, my friend?
Yes to all. Yes to all. I'm sorry about that. I wasn't even getting ready. I was sitting there making some notes as Goolsby was talking. But no, it's the holidays. It's like holidays are awesome. Football, great football. We got the NFL kicking off next week. Some little game tomorrow night. So it's a good time to be a football fan. How's that? So
yeah. For our live audience, just so you know, I'm a diehard Dolphins fan, and I really need to watch the Dolphins game. So we're on a tight schedule today. As I've said before many times, I've not seen the Dolphins win a playoff game since I was 7, and I'm 30. So it's about time. We need to beat the Bills so we can get the Steelers at home so I can see the Dolphins win another playoff game. But we'll dive into the show. This is very much like we're just kind of go with the flow, see what you guys are asking about in the comments and talking about, and then where the conversation takes us today. But we are going to kind of start with, whenever we do these shows, I always text the guys and say, hey, what do you guys want to talk about? Really just kind of see what's on their mind. And the first thing Goolsby said was like kind of postseason awards, MVP, that kind of thing. So I can pop up on the screen real quick. The Echoes Awards winner, Hartman MVP, Bertrand, the father Ted Man of the Year, Estime, Offensive Player of the Year, Watts, Defensive Player of the Year, so on and so forth. Goolsby, did you see this? These winners?
I did, but it's been, this is a good refresher. That's a lot of awards. They didn't have all that many awards back when I was playing. I think it was like offense, defense, MVP. That was about it. So scroll up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the MVP one is a fun one to talk about.
Oh, is
'Cause
it?
I think it's a fun one to talk about. So you get the Hartman one, and I was sitting there walking the dogs earlier, and I'm like, who would just to go against the grain a little bit, who would have been an MVP type candidate? And I think Watts is probably your MVP. But part of me, Tim, I'm like, there was a point in time in that season where it's like Mitchell Evans could have damn near been your MVP. So it's like you needed a third down. It was flashbacks of Michael Mayer, just old reliable, like that middle chunk of the season before the poor kid got hurt. I might have cast a vote for Mitch as an MVP. Do you have any thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, Evans was a stud. Obviously in that one portion, right when he started getting going. So, he was a stud. I mean, I know instantly. I mean, we talked about this, Singer and I, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. I was like stunned. I'll be honest with you. When I finally actually started to look at the awards, and I'm like, real quick, the 20 awards they do now, that's a Brian Kelly thing. Marcus Freeman's kept this. So before that, Mike Goolsby's correct. You always had the Moose Krause Lineman of the Year, Team MVP, and a couple of the iconic awards that you have there. It's about 5 or 6 awards. And you pass out team captains and your Letterman jackets, so to speak, and who got the monograms, and that was your award show. Nowadays, it's like 22 awards. Every senior gets a cupcake, and that's a Brian Kelly thing. He's kept that thing rolling, and Freeman's following suit. But team MVP. When I first saw it, I was like, Sam Hartman. So you just don't think he's the MVP like Mike Goolsby. I just went and Googled yours. Justin Tuck. When you think of Justin Tuck, he dominated, and obviously he carried that on in the NFL, but he was your team MVP. So those are like names you think. I know some fans, I instantly thought of Joe Alt. It's Alt or Watts, because Watts Singer brought this up when he and I talked about it, was his plays were huge. They just popped big moments, and he made big plays in the big games. He had the Duke, the unsung play of the year, believe it or not, is the TFL that he got on the last play against Duke that gave Hartman a shot to go 95 yards. If Watts doesn't get that TFL, boom, first down, Duke runs out the clock, and Notre Dame's a whopping 8-4, right, playing in the Sun Bowl. So Watts, and then Joe Alt just dominated. Some would say Estime. I may not have a lot of fans after saying this, but Estime really didn't dominate in the big games. He just didn't. He had obviously the early against Clemson, Ohio State, SC, but the worst game of the year you got 10 carries, 20 yards against Louisville. So that just goes to the whole night of that thing. But that's just a quick little ramble when it comes to MVPs.
Singer, you all right?
Yeah, you all right? What do you got?
So, you look like you've seen a ghost.
We just had the biggest super chat I've ever seen, and I don't know if this was a mistake or not by SDS.
Maybe do you want to let it air out? Give him time to redact that. I'll keep talking while you.
Yeah.
Go for it.
It's funny, Tim. You say this is that kind of look back episode at 2023, what could have been, etc. Yeah. And it's like, Estime probably should have been your MVP, Tim.
Yes.
But it's like the guy can't call his own number, unfortunately.
That goes back to the I think the first post game after Navy, or maybe even the second one after Tennessee State. And you started to, you're like, okay, Tennessee State, I understand it. This whole, we're going to rotate all these guys, 5-headed monster, the whole little, graphic you could put on Twitter and stuff of that nature. But I remember saying 9 months ago, 12 months ago, feed Estime. You only got him for this 1 year. I'm telling you, man, if Estime just had 5 more carries in every single game, he's first team All-American, and who's to say he's not up in the Heisman top 10, maybe even higher than that, because his numbers would have been, just huge. How about they just give Estime 2 more carries against Ohio State. After they get back-to-back first downs, they rotate him. So, yeah, man, I would love, love for someone in the Notre Dame media in South Bend, just corner someone in the office and be like, what is the running back rotation? Because Freeman has said time and time again, the assistants are the ones that rotate. So, man, sometimes that drove me nuts a few times because I'm a big fan of Estime. I'm a big fan of the workhorse. You played with some guys where you're going to feed them 20-something carries a game. And that's what stunk with Estime is there's so many games, 16, 17, 18 carries. Man, give them 5 freaking more carries. Let's go. So that's the most frustrating. I think when we look back, there's some games it's like he could have had 25, 28 carries, and you're looking at a New Year's Six bowl.
And there's no sense in having a body like Estime. I mean, that's we kid about this, Tim, but we're like dead serious. God put that young man on the earth to pound the rock and give him 22, 24, 26 carries a game. It's like there's no sense in being built like that if you're not going to be, just a hammer and wear people down. At the end of the season, it's like the guy had full tread left on his tires. It's like you were saying, Tim, it's like run those tires ball. Like he's off to the league. And then that was something else I wanted to talk about. That was the running back usage this year, really the last couple years, Tim. Like it's just some of this stuff. It's head scratching. The number of guys that we play, and then the spots that they play them in. Consistently, with Payne being your third down guy, we need to, Tim, you're the coach.
Man.
Do you have to play 5 running backs? Do we need 5?
That's a lot of running backs. That's a lot of rotation. Now, obviously, they didn't do it, with Ford at times. I get that. But even, it was interesting. Price coming back. I like the way they worked Price. You talked about this a ton, Mike. Goolsby, when it comes with injuries of just not throwing him into the fire. And I think they did a great job with Jadarian, especially because he was healthy as could be in that Sun Bowl. And he looked like it. He was the much better running back. He looked like he did a year ago or 2 years ago in his high school highlights. He looked legit. And then Love, obviously, there were so many times frustrating, just like he's so close to going 50 yards and you just wanted to feed him. But Estime was your guy. Could have just fed him some more. Someone wrote in the comments here, 5 more is not going to beat Louisville. He only had 10 carries against Louisville. And Notre Dame did have the lead in the third quarter, 13-10, before, the tires went off of that game. So it's not like that game was a blowout. That game was close, and then it got away from them. So who knows if something could have changed in that game. But it's the Clemson game, how they just never ran him again after he almost has 100 in the first half. And then obviously, we've talked 100 times, just Ohio State. How was he not in the game to finish that?
Yeah.
That is going to be a head scratcher of all time.
All right, before we continue the conversation, we're going to hear from our sponsor over at PrizePicks, which is a website and app that I've had a ton of fun with during the football season. But they also have many other sports, for this kind of daily fantasy thing. I mean, college basketball, everything, NASCAR, MMA, cricket, soccer. I mean, golf. I mean, seriously, all sorts of stuff. So you pick 2 to 6 players for an entry, and if they will go more or less than their prize pick projections, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. Use the promo code BGI, and you will receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So you put in $100, and PrizePicks will give you 100. You put in 50, they're going to match you with 50. So please do check it out over at PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code BGI. Here's what I cooked up for the national championship game with my buddy Adam. Appreciate you cooking me this up. JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix, their combined passing yardage less than 487.5. Roma Dunze to not score a touchdown. Jack Westover, Washington tight end, more than 2.5 receptions, and Blake Corum to not go over 100 yards. I just need to hit 3 of 4 on a flex play to win my money back. Goolsby, Is this an instant loss, or do you like it?
I'm not familiar with PrizePicks, and I probably need to be. Are you coming up with these with the figures like the Romaduze?
No. These are all the PrizePicks projections.
I don't think I like it.
Okay.
I don't know anything about the tight end, but the Romaduze one I would say is probably a bad bet. And then the under, what is that, 487?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it depends on how the game goes. Joe Klatt did an amazing breakdown of how this game's going to go and the number of possessions. Yeah, I mean, in the Blake Corum one, less than 100, dude. I mean, I don't know.
We'll check back.
Good luck. You're pretty good at these, though, from what I understand. We only hear about the winners. That's how betting goes.
I mean, let's just past entries. I mean, just today, your boy hit, a little something. So we're doing okay. But yeah, folks, please do check it out. PrizePicks.com. Use that promo code BGI. Receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So thank you to our sponsors over at BGI. Yeah, so we got the biggest super chat I've ever seen from SDS, who she says it was an accident. She meant $10, and it was 500. So folks, I do want to say the super chats, you guys are amazing, but yeah, I know this one was an accident, but you really don't need to. I mean, if you do $5, that's all you need to do. Just like $5 super chats. You guys don't need to go above and beyond on these. Seriously, we were just appreciative of you guys just hanging out and watching. So seriously, but SDS thoughts, we're going to figure out how to get you this refund, SDS, but we can both or we can answer this question real quick for Mike and Tim. Just thoughts on Denbrock. Are you pretty excited about this, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. Just you're getting a vet. You're getting a guy that's been around the block. Heck, he was on the staff when Mike Goolsby played. That's how long he's been around Notre Dame. It's going to be his third stint. So that's what's exciting is he's been through the wars. You got him. You got Al Golden on the D. You got two, aged veterans that have been through it all, and that's the most exciting thing. I know people think, oh, he's bringing the LSU offense. Well, the LSU offense was a Heisman Trophy winner and a bunch of first-round draft picks at wide receivers. So I don't think those guys are going to be at Notre Dame. So, but his experience, play calling, the things that he's going to bring back to Notre Dame is what's nice. And I've talked about him being gone from Notre Dame and what he's done from 17 to 23 is very impressive. How he helped build Cincinnati to a playoff team, and then obviously the last 2 years with Brian Kelly down there at LSU running that offense.
Goolsby?
Yeah, so as Tim stated, Denbrock was there when I was there under Willingham. On the Patreon, I'm actually going to bring on a couple of his former tight ends to kind of talk about his nature, like as a coach, but just a rock solid dude. The gray hair factor, you've got obviously Al Golden on the defensive side, Denbrock on the offensive side. You've got kind of that Freeman sandwich, that gray hair sandwich. That sounds disgusting, but I'm sure it'll work out in terms of coaching. I love it. And the recruiting pitch, yes, it's his third trip back to Notre Dame. I mean, get real. I mean, when you're trying to sell that program to some of these kids, I don't think most Notre Dame fans appreciate like how big of a deal SEC football is. He's been down south. He's been competitive in the SEC, best offense in the country, Heisman Trophy winner. That's going to carry a lot of weight with maybe kids that might not have been Notre Dame types, generically speaking. I think if a Mike Denbrock, former LSU coach gives you a ring now at Notre Dame, I think you're going to be a little bit more receptive to some of those types of recruits. And then, I think as the three of us were texting, it's like, let Golden go nuts on the defense, let Denbrock do his thing. And then Marcus, you just, continue to promote. You're kind of the figurehead. You're the lead recruiter, et cetera. And just keep building this thing. I mean, it's a home run hire. And I mean, going into this offseason, Tim, you've been up to your eyeballs in Notre Dame football probably longer than I have. I mean, from a fan perspective, and this is the best that I felt about the program since you and I've been doing a show together, Singer. It's the best I felt, and Denbrock coming back is a huge, huge component to that, fellas.
Sorry, muted. I love the setup, Goolsby. And Tanner does too. He says Goolsby setup is next level. So Tanner, yep, I agree with you, buddy. Trash
They
with
make real quick. They make these. The acoustics in here is brutal, and they make these like acoustic wall panels with the wood, and but it's like, man, they are not cheap, you know. So I'm still working on it, but thank you.
Trash with the $10 super chat. He says, my Notre Dame resolutions: 1, watch the whole game. It's always a good one. 2, support our quarterback. Yeah, you know, it's always good. Do not blame refs for losses. Trash. I feel like if I remember your super chats, it's refs and yeah, I think refs and you talk about the announcers. I could be wrong. But and then number 4, have patience like Singer. My wife would disagree, but I appreciate that. Look good like Goolsby and be wise like Tim. I mean, I would just say look good like Goolsby and Tim. I don't know how wise Tim is when I dunk on him all the time in our arguments, but Trash, really appreciate the $10 super chat.
Well, let me bounce off of what Mr. Goolsby just said. Is the Denbrock hype a little too much? I mean, people are acting like, you know, that's why I brought the wide receivers. I mean, it's nice to be an OC when you could sling it up to guys going in the first round. So is that going to be, you know, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, his experience, he's been the main guy. Obviously, he did it at Notre Dame under Brian Kelly, and then, you know, what he's done with whatchamacallit, Fickle at Cincy, and obviously being the main guy down there at LSU. But man, some of the conversations when you get in this offense is like LSU 2023 is going to look like Notre Dame 2024, and I don't know if that's fair. He's going to do a hell of a job because I think he's a darn good football coach. But these expectations, are they a little overkill? Because you still need the dudes, don't you, Mr. Goolsby? LSU has some dudes. I mean, he wasn't in the bowl game, and they still threw for 400 yards. And that's they got some guys down there.
Yeah, no, and I do want to talk about the wide receiver group because that's just so much fun. But yeah, Tim, is Denbrock being overvalued? Probably so, but I think you have to juxtapose that with how fans felt about Parker, and it was like for the longest time, it was like Parker wasn't going anywhere. I mean, he wasn't getting fired. He wasn't going, you know, like he left on his own accord to go to Troy. I mean, it was like a perfect scenario. Like he gets to be a head guy. Like awesome, congratulations. Oh, and by the way, we get the best offensive coordinator candidate out there who happens to love Notre Dame. I mean, it's a home run in that regard. You're saying, Tim, you know, the on the field product, yes, it's not going to quite look like at LSU. And I think, yeah, Tim and I, we should do somehow, Tim, figure out a way to like just the breakdown of like what these SEC receivers run like, move like, etc. And I think you and I are very much kind of have the same train of thought. It's like, don't really care how tall he is, don't really care what he weighs, but there are some young men out there playing college football that can just go. Run. Yeah. Like, and I'm talking wide open. Cam Williams, though, Tim, Cam Williams can kind of do that. I mean, Cam Williams, his running form is like perfect. So I don't know what his time speed is, but when you watch Cam Williams on film, you're like, he's running away from people. And I mean, he's the closest thing that we've had to one of those guys in some time.
No, I agree. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Notre Dame hasn't had a dude that's looked like Cam coming in since obviously Floyd, Tate, you know, those guys back then, you know. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Just with, you know, Denbrock comes aboard and just the hype, which it's excitement. Don't get me wrong. It's just going to be, it's still players, and that's, you know, that's my big thing. I'm a huge believer. You got to have players. So just because an OC knows how to call a game, if you don't have an outside receiver that could win one-on, and when I say outside, I'm talking hash to the sideline. I'm not talking post routes. I'm not talking push slot fades with Faison does as he torched the guys in the Sun Bowl. I'm talking about a bona fide outside number one. We're going to see those tomorrow night at Washington. They just roll them in. They're so damn good. And then, you know, obviously we talked a ton about the SEC. They all got guys like that. So who is the dude at Notre Dame? And that's going to be the interesting thing that Denbrock and all these guys find out.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, have you gotten into the two transfer receivers, specifically Chris Mitchell, the kid from FIU? Do you have any thoughts on him? Because I do.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, man, I guess I am one of those glass half empty, I guess, with Bo Collins, a solid football player. Is he going to beat you?
I like Bo. Yeah.
But is he going to beat you is he going to beat you on the outside? That's what I want to see. He's solid underneath. He's going to catch the heck out of outs, really good route runner, physical, really, really aggressive football player. Mitchell, he played at FIU. That's not, I'm curious to see what that does. When I say FIU, it's Florida International. What's he going to do? Because A&M's got some guys. So what's he going to do when he goes against, old school SEC press man coverage from Mike Elko in game one? We're going to find out real soon. But, I'm curious. I mean, they needed guys. I'm a big believer in bodies. They probably still need to get another body because you just need bodies on the outside. Wide receiver, D-line, you never have enough of those guys is my philosophy.
Goolsby, before you go on your receiver thought, can you just put a pause there and we'll come back to it?
Happy to.
All right, thank you. Again, your boys we gotta watch this Dolphins game. This is very crucial. 8:15 Eastern. Dolphins are gonna beat the Bills. 3 touchdowns. No, I don't know about 3 touchdowns, but Dolphins are gonna beat the Bills. But in the meantime here, folks, we're gonna ask you a few questions, and they are you a displaced corporate executive wanting to put your career in your own hands? Or are you an experienced entrepreneur wanting to diversify? If you're answering yes, you're going to want to call Andy Ludicky, who is a huge college sports fan and franchise veteran, having owned multiple franchises and businesses. Using Andy's expertise, he's going to help you find your American dream through a very thorough consultation and evaluation process. So give Andy a call at 404-973-9901 and put your life and career in your own hands. And best of all, his services are 100% free to you. So what do you have to lose? Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net. Give Andy a call, 404-973-9901, myperfectfranchise.net. A couple super chats before we get back into the receiver discussion. I also want to throw this out there. Mr. 2.0 said, Ms. Troy University is the real MVP. That was when he posted that comment when we were going through the whole MVP discussion. Michael said, excellent coverage this year. Tyler Horka was one of the few reporters to ask difficult questions about the 10-man fiasco following Ohio State. Do you think some competitors are too differential to the coaching staff? I know Tyler usually listens back to this show. He tells me when he walks his dog. So I'm sure Tyler got to see your comment, Michael, and I'm sure he is appreciative of your message there. Do you think some competitors are too differential to the? Does he mean like our competitors, like other websites?
I think he's saying other ND football media outlets. Yeah, that's what the question is.
I read that as the media too soft. That's how I read that.
All right, well, what do you guys think?
I'll recuse myself. This is another thing that's.
This is my thoughts will stay towards the messages between Goolsby and I. How's that? That's the political Tim. How's that?
Politician Tim comes out. How about that?
Yeah.
Oh, he's always bad. Yeah, politician Tim's just always waiting in the wings.
It's soft and cuddly. Come on. It's it's soft and cuddly.
Oh, and yeah, you don't want to be on the text chain with Tim and I during camp, in particular during fall camp. Because Tim and I are like, what the F are we covering? Like, I don't care that Coach Parker's doing push-ups. It's so some of the stuff in general, it tends to be a little, Tim's going to say soft and cuddly. I'm going to say it's cornball-ish. And like the more you pay attention, you could tell who sources are, what players, what parents. I mean, it's like wildly transparent. But no, I think Horka does a good job of, pushing the envelope a little bit. And I totally understand you got to kiss the ring to some degree. But yeah, there are some questions that need asked, and it's just like you're doing a disservice almost to, the fan base. And it was funny, Tim, watching like Parker answer some of these questions, because like you could tell Parker's reading press clippings, and it's like, yes, we do have play action in the playbook, et cetera. Like, Yeah, so I think sometimes Notre Dame football media, nobody ever asked me to come on their podcast or anything, and I totally get it. Because I guess they are competition now, but yeah, it's corny as shit. It's corny. At times, it's very corny.
Yeah. Let's just spend 12 seconds on that. That is still. I've listened to a billion press conferences from coaches, head coaches over the last 25, 30 years. I mean, I remember I used to read them, just read, what's the coach saying this week, blah blah blah. But for the offensive coordinator to bring up, he's literally hearing this is like I've never heard a coach really get into that. That was pretty wild. That just was wild. And real quick, I saw one of the comments talk about just real quick. Someone said, "Tim, are you just saying SEC love on when it comes to A&M?" No, I actually literally just started breaking down their roster. They have a lot of transfers, but they've got a boatload of dudes coming in. So we'll get into A&M down the road. I saw a few A&M comments. I'm just starting to dive into their film and their roster on who's left from those elite recruiting classes the last few years. So it's gonna be a hell of a football game, man.
You guys liking the push-ups? You liking the push-ups, Goolsby?
Yeah, push-ups, man.
Well, listen, I mean, I'm a little fan myself. I mean, this I get the push-ups, but this is all to look good in that that dry fit material. You want to get a little blood flow in the chest, so you fill out that shirt. That's all that is, and I'm half kidding. But no, the camp stuff, it's just like, like Tim and I, it's like, Tim, I'll meet you there. Get in the car. Let's go watch practice. Cause it's like, I want to see some of this stuff. And it's like, what's being reported is Parker doing push-ups. It's like, man,
all right.
Swinging a miss.
In the defense of the media there, because I've been to practice at Notre Dame, dude, it's stretching, and then you might get some indie periods, like one or two. So
yeah, like, but get somebody like Tim and I. Get somebody like Tim and I that knows some ball and like, okay, like, I'm looking at ass cheeks and calf muscles. I'm looking at stuff to see, like, I'm looking at movement, who looks good out there. You can see a lot in a stretch line, Tim. You can. Ass cheeks, you know what I mean?
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. A little less on routes on air, QBs completing to managers. I hear you. But we'll get there. That's months away.
All right, Theodore.
Another passing. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
$20 super chat from Theodore says, "Thanks, guys, for the year. The defense really overperformed with Maris playing 90% of snaps. The middle of O-line was also really suspect. Thanks for everything this year." Theodore, thank you for being such a consistent viewer of our live shows. Theodore, thank you very much. Trash $2 says, "When I blame refs, other due to Notre Dame bias is real." All right, there's the trash I know and love. There you are, buddy. Appreciate the two. Okay.
Trash will always. I'm just speaking for him. He probably just every time he sees a flag, it's just 2014 PTSD against Florida State when they threw a flag on the game-winning touchdown on the pick play. So believe me, every time I see a flag, I think of the same damn thing. So I feel him. And
Theodore said, "Goolsby, keep it real, man. You have great perspectives for sure." For sure. Theodore, really appreciate the support again. So Goolsby, going back to the receiver talk, I know you want to talk about Chris Mitchell from Florida International.
Yeah, I like Bo. Bo seems like, he's like a McKinley type to me. He's got some bounce to him and some size and some physicality. So he'll go up and get the ball. We're talking about Chris Mitchell having played at FIU. Like, I'm glad that we have him in the fold. Yes, you said, Tim, it's another body. But, like, I'm hearing 4.4 speed, and I looked up his track time, and I think he was like an 11.1 or something in high school. And for a kid that's 170 pounds, that's not that fast. And then I just like do not see 4.4.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running 11 something, that's like a 4.6, 4.65. So
yeah, I don't see 4.4. I don't see it.
No. I've seen some dudes in Southern California run some 10.5s. Hundreds, that are, and those dudes are fast. That's fast. That is blazing fast. So,
yeah.
It's funny because I remember you on one of your Sunday shows, Mike, when he committed or he was visiting or something with you and a Singer, and you talked about that where you're like, you keep hearing all this 4.4. His film, he makes some really good plays. Don't get me wrong. I've seen some comments on that. He does some really good things on film, but I don't see him. I'm with you. I don't think he's I'm going to run by your ass and just go. I haven't seen that, or at least how's this? I'm not expecting that. I'm not expecting him to be Golden Tate. Will Fuller and just going to run right by you. I haven't seen that on film, or just the way. How about this? I mean, you brought it up just when you're talking about the high ass and the calves and all that. And it's like just the way he runs. He doesn't explode like a 4.4. And we could be wrong. Damn, I hope I am. I hope he runs right by dudes. But I'm just not expecting that. I mean, sure he can do it once in a while. I'm saying consistently. And let's talk, and obviously the good team. And there's very few good teams next year. Next year's schedule is like butter. So the couple games he has to perform, those are going to be the main ones that we'll critique him on.
Yeah, and he did. I think he had 9 catches against an SEC team in Arkansas last year. But it's like, and that's the pushback. That's the natural pushback. But it's just like every squirrel finds a nut. And he's another, again, highly competitive guy. He's doing the most with his God-given ability. But like, I think, again, what Tim and I are sort of like, praying for, looking for, begging for is just, elite top-end speed. And he's being billed as such, but we also heard that Deion Colsey's like a first rounder, and I don't think he ever sees the field at Notre Dame. And Singer, I've been saying that for 16 months now, 12 months easy. He's being billed as a 4.4 guy, and I'm just saying, pump the brakes. Tim, I'm much more excited about Cam Williams and Micah Gilbert coming into the fold than I am Chris Mitchell and Bo Collins personally. Cam Williams in particular, I think he's going to be. I mean, everybody likes to talk about CJ Carr. I mean, there's some KVA, there's some great recruits, Keedron Young in that class. But I mean, Cam Williams, if this thing pans out, he's one of those stars that we've been clamoring for.
So 3 of the guys you just mentioned there, I got to see this week. In Texas.
Yeah.
So Cam got hurt the morning of the second practice. So that was really disappointing. He told me the injury. I don't remember it. He's only supposed to be out for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before he's back to 100%. So he'll be totally fine by the start of spring ball. But Cam, just in seeing him in the first practice, I mean, there was no like real competitive periods, but like he looks different, like he the Jeremiah Smith kid there, the number 1 player in the country going to Ohio State, talking to one of the guys on 3 who's telling me, he's like, this is the best receiver I've seen since Julio Jones. I was like, that day he is scout. I was like, I mean, Jeremiah Smith's a little bit different, but Cam looked like a 5-star receiver to me. And then Kingston, I think, was not even close. He was the best linebacker at the All-American Bowl. Like, he was outstanding. Like, he was beating offensive linemen to their spots. Like, it was like his ability to read and react so freaking quickly was insane. Kind of a opposite. I don't want to throw a stray bullet out, but an opposite of a linebacker that Goolsby talks about. Goolsby's analysis on a certain linebacker. And then Keedron Young didn't really do much in the game. Practice all week. The running backs just do swing passes. That's all they don't really do a whole lot. But I mean, just like physically, like he looks outstanding. And then who's the last one? Bryce Young got rave reviews all week as well. The son of Brian Young. Physically look really good. I think he's going to move up in the rankings even more. Still needs some pass rush work, like technically, because he's just kind of playing off athleticism and power right now. But like when you look at the frame, it's impressive. Like his calves are still like kind of skinny, like, and he's got this bigger upper body. So like he's got some more like developing to do physically, but like he is a really impressive player, and he's just a very large human being as well. So those guys look great. Gerby was there, but injured. He injured a minor knee injury at the end of November, so there's no reason for him to risk playing in this game. I still think Gerby might end up as a 5-star though, even though he didn't get to play in it. So that was kind of the rundown of those guys.
You mentioned skinny calves. Tim knows this, I'm sure, but calves are genetic. And some of your best athletes, they have no calf. And if they do have it, Tim, it's real high, like a real high calf, like but, Bryce Young, he's an NFL kid. I mean, you look at that body type. I mean, I sent you a picture of a kid I just started training, Stephen Owusu, 6'6", 330 pounds with a 7'2" wingspan. It's like if you can pull everything together, that's an NFL kid. They're a different type of human being walking around. Kedron Young, I got to see him a little bit in that game. It's remarkable if he's 220. Yeah, I mean, he must be just so densely built, because it's like he looks like he's 185 in pads or something, but it's like he's going to get up to 5'10", 225, 230. It's like, oof. And then KVA, I just wish she was like an inch taller. But as I was texting you, I was like, how sick does KVA look? And I'm telling you, as somebody that played that position, Tim, you can't do it much better. It's like what that kid does. You can't really, maybe you're a little bit faster, maybe you're a little bit longer, whatever. But in terms of playing middle linebacker, it's like, holy smokes, is he good?
Yeah. Before I jump in those, let me just backtrack a few seconds, because Goolsby and I always talk about numbers and track stuff. So someone posted in the chat, which I love, that Drew Tranquil ran a 10.8. Well, a 10.8, he ran a 4.57 at the combine. So you could start to see numbers. So when Goolsby's saying Mitchell, the wide receiver's running an 11.1, 11.2 100, what did I say? It equates to a 4.6 plus. So that's kind of how those things track out. So you start to see how track times and 40 times start to, for guys listening to the podcast thinking Mitchell's a 4.4 guy. He's not, if you're running 11 flat, 11.100. So it just doesn't equal that. But man, hey, I'm not going to say anything about Kingston, because I've been saying it for 18 months. As soon as he got an offer, first thing I said on the message board, and I think on our Pot of Gold show, was, hey, if he comes to Notre Dame, he's the best linebacker since Jalen Smith, the most ready to play freshman. Man, but and of course Goolsby would know this. I got so much blowback on the message board, like, oh, how can you say that? Look at all these guys Notre Dame has signed. Well, let's just go back the last couple of years. Mike Goolsby played a little linebacker at Notre Dame. You signed Jalen Sneed, who we're still trying to find a position for. You saw Josh Burnham, that is now in a 3-point stance full time. Tuli Alamaka is playing outside. Ziegler's going to go play in the MAC. The next class, you got Bowen, which he's going to compete with Mr. Kingston. We'll see how that goes. Preston Zinner, my humble opinion, I don't think he's going to play at Notre Dame. I think he's going to get beat out by better football players. And then Osbury, which, his speed is electric. So we'll see what happens there. But those are the linebackers from the last couple of years. And that's why I said what I said 18 months ago. I'm like, I think Kingston's playing as a freshman, whether that's a starter, but his butt's going to get on the field. And he's a dude. He's a dude. It's where he comes from. And there's some film I saw of him this week, and I'm just like, God, man, you can put a blindfold on him, and he's going to read a play. He's so freaking good. And finally, people out there that run all these scouting services are seeing it and coming to life. So the dude's a 5-star. If he's not a 5-star, I don't care, because he is on film, and that's the truth when you watch him. He's a flat-out stud. Congrats to Al Washington, because he was the one recruiting him at Ohio State. Comes to Notre Dame, and he's the first guy he started recruiting on day one. So Notre Dame's been on that guy for 2 straight years. So kudos to them.
Yeah. The Bowen KVA competition is going to be fun. And Bowen is one of those guys that's, he's a really good football player, like really good. I've always thought he's a little tight, just a little tight. But then you watch him playing running back, but I'm looking at like knee drive, being able to drop your weight. But then he's going to have like a lot of intangible leadership, probably know that playbook in and out, which is going to give him a little bit of a leg up. But I did see a play in the Sun Bowl, and I think he got on his man late, or it was like a wheel route or something to the back, Tim. I don't quite remember the play, but it was the first time that I got to see Drake Bowen like sort of isolated running in space. And I wasn't blown away. you know, in terms of like top end, long speed, as I like to say. And I was just like, you know, so there's definitely some holes in his game, but two really good players nonetheless. It's really going to come down to who can digest and learn that playbook, and in so doing earn a coach's trust. Osbury's a fascinating kid. Another kid, Tim, that's like, if you're trying to teach kids how to move, flip your hips, et cetera, transfer weight. I mean, Osbury does it just about as good as you could ask, but he's small. And you see him running around there. Was he number 23? I mean, it looks like Kyron Williams playing linebacker. He's very small. Great football player, but he's very small. And
his high school film was crazy. Osbury's.
Yeah.
I mean, he knocked the living hell out of you. It was so physical. But yeah, you're right with Bowen, especially someone just put in the comments, damn, high five to you. Is he playing baseball? That's something Singer or the guys in South Bend could figure out. So if he's playing baseball, doing a little bit of football, going back and forth, KVA's he's sucking up the reps. So that's going to be interesting. And, you know, we're talking, obviously, I'm assuming we're thinking this is the Mike position because Kaiser plays Will. So Mr. Mike Goolsby, where does Jalen Sneed play? Is he just a permanent dime package, rush, specialty type guy? So, you know, because they only play two linebackers. The Rover, that is what they do. The Rover's a cover guy. They're not playing none of these guys out there because they do that single digits every game. And it's only in special situations we'll see three true linebackers on the field.
The Sneed, Tim, we could probably do 30 minutes on him because he's been such an enigma. And I'll never forget it. This is the third or fourth time I've cited it on this show. Singer interviewed him at some recruiting camp, Nike thing or something. And he was talking about his visit to Notre Dame and what a sweetheart of a kid. And he was like, yeah, they had me watching film. And like, he was just understanding for like right then and there on that visit to Notre Dame, like there's more than football, more to football than just like see ball, get ball. Like the concept of gap discipline. The poor kid played 3 different positions in high school, like safety, linebacker, DN. He comes to Notre Dame with all that 5-star hype and athleticism. He's drinking through a fire hose. The time is now for Jalen Sneed. And this is your third spring. I mean, this is kind of make or break. There's no shame in being that Micah Parsons kind of pass rush, gadget guy. There's no shame in that. But if he's going to become a full-time starter at will, now's the time to do so. I want to talk about Jack Kaiser because I saw a couple things. Go ahead.
No, let me throw that out there as you're making great points. But that's Kaiser's best position as will. Kaiser, if he plays, Mike's going to get eaten alive. That's my opinion. I don't think he's big enough, physical enough to play in there. I think he's the will playing off things, as you know well. So if he's the will backer and if Sneed, I said it all year, just let him be Micah Parsons. So if Jalen Sneed's being Micah Parsons, that means Botello's not on the field, right? Because that's kind of the same spot, the Viper, that hybrid type of guy on the edge. And Sneed was crazy in the Sun Bowl. He was like just rushing like mad. He's so damn athletic. But if you're only going to play him in the Aztec, that's once every 3 plays. And if a team's pounding the rock, you don't see him until you're 3rd and 8. So how do you get him on the field full time to use that athleticism? And that's going to be.
I think I want to take credit for the Micah Parsons, Jalen Sneed thing. Because I was just like, man. But I think Kaiser, dude, he's a 6th-year player. I think he'll be a brain surgeon by the time he gets done. He's on like his 4th degree. The kid's really bright. I think situationally, you could slide Jack into playing Mike in a 3rd down scenario, and then maybe put Sneed at will in a 3rd and obvious type passing thing. And then if it's more of a mix down, I think you could put Bowen or KVA at Mike and then Jack at will in a mix down scenario. But you're right, Tim, in terms of being able to kind of the physicality of playing like true middle linebacker. There was a play in the Sun Bowl where he got blocked at the 2nd level by a guard or whomever, and it was like, yuck. Like, it was like he was like trying to use his hands. I was like, dude, like that, it was bad. It was bad. I was like, so that was disappointing and almost shocking to see how uncomfortable he was, like dealing with blockers and all that. So we'll see, but I still think Tim, conspiracy theory, where's my hat, my tinfoil hat. But I still see there's too many linebackers like that continue to come in that are too multiple. What are they to not sprinkle in a little bit of 3-3-5? Other than that, like get rid of the Rover terminology. It's like that Aztec package could be a 3-3-5. Just walk them off the line. They're going to have to find a way to roll all these kids in. Otherwise, we're going to get stuck with J.D. Bertrand and Americas for 3 years consecutively.
All right, Tim. Before we go to Tim, let's hear from our next sponsor for today's show, and that is Factor Meals. Something that I've really enjoyed working into my own diet because it's nutritious and it's flavorful to fuel you on those jam-packed days. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. And this is going to help you eat well for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You're going to save time and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle while tackling all your holiday to-dos. My wife and I have tried out many of these different, ready-to-eat meals delivery service things, but the difference there being the ready-to-eat. Some of them, you have to cook it all. It's high quality stuff, and you just throw it in the oven for 5 minutes or so, and it tastes great as well. So Factor is not just for dinner. You can count on extra convenience any time of the day with an assortment of 55 plus add-ons to suit various preference and taste. Choose from quick breakfast items, lunch to go, grab-and-go snacks, and ready-to-drink cold pressed juices, shakes, and smoothies. I personally loved the smoothies. So this January, folks, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door, ready in just a few minutes. No prep, no mess. So this is what you're going to do. Head to factormeals.com/BGI50. Make sure you use that promo code BGI50 and you're going to get 50% off. That's BGI50 at factormeals.com/BGI50 to get 50% off. Thank you, Factor Meals. Going over to you, Mr. Hyde.
Well, first off, BC just gave a comment. Check that out real quick. So there's your plug right there for
Factor
for a year. Highly recommend them. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Those smoothies, I'm telling you, very good.
No, my only thing is, Goolsby talks about 3-3-5. Me personally, I think they're kind of doing it already as a hybrid. Is Mike Will the Viper because he's a stand-up guy. They have when Mike Goolsby talks about 3-3-5, it's Foskey, put him in the middle like they did as a true 3-3. The 5 is always going to be out there because that's the Rover. I know we say Rover. I'm with you. Just quit calling it that. You don't play a Rover. There's no outside linebacker. It's a straight up DB. There are 5 DBs 90+% of the time. The only time we don't see it is goal line, is if a team comes out with a fullback and a tight end on short yardage in the middle of the field, which we saw a couple times. We saw it in the Sun Bowl, 3 linebackers, 3 true backers out there, but that was the Sun Bowl. That was a scrimmage, and Oregon State was wanting to get the hell out of there in the second half. So, but that's my thought with the 3-3. But that was one thing we talked a lot about this time last year was Botello, Tuihalamaka, were we going to see them drop back and play that 3-3 stack? And we never did this year. So they stayed true to that hybrid 4-man front, so to speak, with that stand-up Viper. So
yeah, and everybody wants, we want things as fans because everybody wants to know everything, right? And everybody wants to be, football guru. And I think we're both on the same page, Tim, to a degree where there's some gray here, right? I'm talking about it's really hard to find that Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. That kid is a needle in a haystack in terms of the ability to cover like a DB and blitz and play the run like a linebacker. But we have these like alley types, like a Kennedy Urlacher, a Rezac, the Benny Powell. Osbury to a degree, like those alley overhang type players that you could walk up if need be, but they're not a classic linebacker. So it's just nobody really saw this Aztec package coming. And I'm just looking at those body types, and it's just like, like a kid like Osbury is too good to keep off the field. But if we can find a kid, and then we've always been a little bit vulnerable to a run, but to your point, we're playing like this hybrid 4-man front, playing true nickel in terms of our DBs.
Yes.
But it's like, but that makes us a little bit vulnerable to chunk runs. We continually, for 2 years now, we give up chunk runs. So if you put a bigger body maybe as that alley overhang player, might that solve some of those issues? Yeah. There's a lot of variability to it.
Well, God, that's perfect what you just said about the chunk runs, because look at the games where they got beat up in. Duke ran the ball for almost 200 yards, just hammered the ball right at Notre Dame. Louisville, that running back for Louisville, went nuts in that game. Clemson gets the backup in, and he runs for 190 yards. So it's not like, which is crazy because Notre Dame finished sixth in total defense, the highest total yards number since 1980 when that defense went and played Herschel Walker in the Sugar Bowl. That's how long it's been, Goolsby. So, as a total defensive total number. Yet when push came to shoving some games, they were a sieve against the run. Bad tackling, bad fits, all those things. Even the Buckeyes game, I hate that, Xavier Watts, hell of a season, but Ohio State's big touchdown run, Xavier Watts whiffs on the tackle in the alley, and, Henderson goes for 60. So, there's times, you're right, SC, they run speed option, the guy rips off 50-yard run in that game. So there was times where Notre Dame just got beat up on the run. So how can you constantly take that? Because there's going to be some games next year where teams are just going to be like, we're going to run the damn ball. And A&M is going to be game one doing that, because Elko, that's his style that he did at Duke, and he's going to bring that in
here. Yeah. So I don't even remember what we were talking about. Somehow we segued off of talking about Snead. But this is a big offseason for him. And he's started to get a little bit more comfortable. The handful of times, Tim, you get to see him play inside. It's like, okay, there's a shuffle. I can see him kind of tracking the ball. He's inching along. But this spring, it's got to be it if he's going to become a full-time starter. Because if not, you're going to be just relegated to that rush guy. And then we've got to find somebody else that we can really depend on to play like a true Will. So huge, important season for Snead here.
And we talk about Snead so much because that's, Awusa Koromora. That's who we want that to be. And that's a special dude, man. That's a special dude who's probably going to, he's a Pro Bowl alternate, which means he's probably going to end up going there because someone will opt out. So I think we're so spoiled by him. Like, we just instantly think, well, Snead looks like him and runs like him. Man, but you got to play slot. So you got to play the run, as we saw against Clemson when he rips off the fumble and scores. And there's one play against Pittsburgh in 2020 that a deep slot bend route, and Owusu just run it and just tips it. Just like, how the hell did you do that? That play against Pitt sticks in my head forever, right, about him.
And what he's doing, and I actually just got his number because he's from Ghana, and this kid that I started training, his family's from Ghana. He moved here at 3, so I got JOK's number. I'm going to try and connect and put more support around this kid. But what he does in the NFL, Tim, he's almost one of a kind. He is lightning quick, and it's almost unfair to expect that up with Jalen Snead, but both special players.
Am I back? Okay. I'm putting a poll in the chat. Is Goolsby's dog a good boy? Yes or very yes? Those are your two options. Yes or very yes. What's your dog's name, Mike?
Cash.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a great dog. Love that dog. Great dog. Yeah.
David with the $5 super chat says, great show, guys. As always, any update on Damian Shaklin? This would be a great addition to an already stacked class. Yes, actually, Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is the team to beat in that recruitment, and we'll have more of an update on him in an article posted on blueandgold.com tomorrow night. But yes, Notre Dame has was it 4 defensive line commits already? A couple or about 3 defensive ends and an interior guy, like a true nose when I say interior guy. And I mean, they'll still take Shanklin, to my knowledge. He is certainly a huge target for the Irish still. But I think really for the D-line board kind of moving forward, it's just him. But we'll see. Trash says, is it possible for the FSU snub to happen to Notre Dame the last couple years? I don't know about the last couple years.
No, because we're going to the 12.
Yeah, we're going to the 12-team playoffs. I mean,
playoffs. So we're not going to see the 48 opt-outs from Florida State ever again. We're going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
if Notre Dame's a one-loss team, they're going to be in the playoff, unless they got blown out in their one loss and then played a Michigan non-conference schedule.
But if they're 12-0 like FSU was, they're in the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah.
The 12, the whole blow. It's funny. Singer and I was just talking about this before the show. The whole blow up about FSU, Georgia, all these opt-outs, man, that's all going away because all those New Year's 6 games are the playoff games now. So those dudes are going to be playing in those. We're not going to – the only opt-outs we're going to be seeing are the Joe Alls, the Estimes, those types of guys where if Notre Dame is not in the playoffs, Notre Dame's – if they're not in the playoffs, they're automatically playing in the Outback Bowl, the Sun Bowl, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. They could eat a Pop-Tart at the end of the game. That's where Notre Dame's going because the New Year's 6s are all the playoffs from now on. So if Notre Dame's not with the big boys, yeah, enjoy the Sun Bowl moving forward.
And Carl said, do you feel the transfer portal evens the playing field out because certain teams cannot keep stacking talent behind talent? Thanks again. Yeah, the whole notion about the transfer portal is going to make transfer portal and NIL is going to make the rich even richer. I feel like it's maybe not happened because guys don't like sitting and then they can go somewhere. Like I've been noticing a lot of guys will leave for a closer to home team. Got the NIL opportunities close to home and early playing time. So it's an interesting thought. Goolsby, do you have anything on this?
I think it's a good thought. I tend to agree here with Carl and that, yeah, it does kind of level the playing field. And whenever we get into these conversations, I just go back to like college coaches. I mean, they had to deal with enough BS before. And it's like they're going to invest 2 years of their life recruiting this kid only for him to leave a year later. Now I got to recruit this other kid. There's still a lot of gray with this. And we had Brady Quinn on the show to talk about NIL, a year or so ago, right, Singer? And
yep.
And I've interviewed a couple of these recruits on Patreon. It's like Notre Dame doesn't really talk about NIL, but they don't lead with it, but it exists. Yep. To what capacity? Who knows? So you hear about some other kid that went to some other school and he was promised a bag of cash and it never materializes. So then that's the reason he left. So I think there's still some like dominoes or chips left to fall here until this thing entirely shakes itself out.
Yeah.
But I'm always going to be a believer in like, look at what Michigan's done this year, that cult that they've created over there. And it's culture, but it's like cult. It's a cult. Nobody left. They'd have one player jump in the portal, and they're about to win the championship tomorrow night. I don't see Washington beating them. And it's like, I still think that that's a big component to college football is to build your core group. And if you need, one or twosie from the portal, let's go get them. But I like what Notre Dame's doing overall.
Tim, real quick.
Yeah. No, that's a great point because Michigan went out and they fit a few needs. There's a few portal guys. Their center, offensive tackle right now. Heck, the DN that trucked the last play of the game was a 2-star out of Coastal Carolina. So there you go on that for that recruiting ranking as he flat backs a first-round right tackle backwards. But yeah, Freeman's doing the same thing. He's going to recruit. Who could survive? Who could play at this level after 2 years? He kind of knows. And if not, you're going to go find the Duke DN. You're going to find Baptiste last year, Harper, replace Harper with a Clark coming from Arizona State. And obviously what he's doing at quarterback, which it sounds like we'll get into that a year from now. But if some of these young guys do step up and show they're the dude, then obviously you don't need to do the portal each and every year, which is the same thing what SC's doing. SC, it's probably going to go with the guy who's been in the program for 3 years, Miller Moss, next year. So it's going to even it out. But transfers don't automatically mean success. Just because the Old Miss is loading up on 50 guys does not mean, because you still got to play for one another. And Mike Goolsby brought that up, and you've heard Harbaugh mention that all week long in his press conferences. So it's still about culture.
Yeah, Tim, I completely with you. I agree with you completely. And then it also kind of goes back to your point about like Denbrock, like like Notre Dame's winning the offseason. You bring in some nice transfers, you get the shiny offensive coordinator, but like, I don't know, man. I remember last offseason when Parker got hired, Notre Dame fans didn't like, they were more upset about the Ludwig thing than they were like cared about Jared Parker being hired. I just remember all offseason, I was like, no one's talking about Jared Parker. And I know that this fan base is going to turn on this guy really quickly during the season. And I'm just like sitting here like, man, Notre Dame's winning this offseason right now. But if this offense doesn't get it churning against Texas A&M, no one's going to care about Denbrock and like all the people praising and loving Denbrock in the offseason and how A+ of and higher that was. If Notre Dame doesn't get it done against Texas A&M, all that is out the window, and that was just good offseason fun. So,
yeah, I mean, I know we're coming up on the big game here in a few minutes, but yeah, we need to try and find a time in the next month to get together, break down the schedule, and do some 9-month out predictions, which believe it or not, it's not going to be that hard with this schedule next year. So there's a lot of Goolsby did not play this many cupcakes back in those days. So
my last thoughts is Singer's clearly got ants in his pants. You either got a stretch or you got ants in your pants. But I think the Denbrock hire, closing thought, it's interesting because last year was all about Hartman. And this year it seems like, at least, the last couple of weeks, it's about Denbrock. Not a lot of talk about Riley Leonard, which is kind of fun because Riley Leonard to me isn't a finished product in the way that we all thought Sam Hartman kind of was. There wasn't a lot of room for growth. So it's like, let Riley Leonard go to work. Let Gino go to work with him. Because I'm going to coin that phrase. He's an athlete playing quarterback still in terms of the nuances of the position. So it's like, yeah, let Denbrock take all that spotlight, take all that soon-to-be heat once we go live games, live fire. But I just think it's a really interesting opportunity, like this Riley Leonard piece and his level of success. If he stays healthy, I'm a little worried about that. But so much of that falls on to Gino, man. And what an opportunity for Coach Gino to develop him and weave him into a Denbrock offense with a mobile quarterback. But, Mike, let's get out of here, buddy.
All right, college football playoff predictions, the final game. Tim, score. Who you got?
Oh, I mean, I'll go Michigan. I'll go Michigan 30 to 20. How's that?
Ghouls?
I like that. I'd say like 34, 24, something like that. Michigan.
Washington's got freakish receivers, but their D's been atrocious at times. But I can't believe we're going to talk about Michigan winning a freaking national title. Holy moly.
All right.
Yeah.
Washington by 45. There you go. Take it to the bank.
What does he say? Washington by 45?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So Goolsby, next time we join, one of our things is if Michigan can do it, when's Notre Dame going to do it? How's that?
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Well, we just got to create a cult first. That's the. But no, I mean, it's to your point, that Harbaugh, it's like you got to, I talked about this on Patreon, like you got to respect what that weirdo's doing. You got to respect it. You might be against it. It's like, oh, everybody steals signals. We're going to do it better than anybody else. He's that us against the world mentality. Every other football team, as long as time's been saying, oh, it's us against the world. This team truly, truly, truly believes it. And I think Harbaugh pushed all his chips to the middle of the table. Fine me, suspend me, cast me out of college football. They're still going to build me a damn statue after I win this son of a bitch. And he doesn't care. Off to the NFL. And I respect him for it.
And last thing, Brendan said, congrats on 25K. Yeah, we hit 25K subscribers on YouTube. Absolutely love that.
That's all you, Singer. That's all Singer, dude. That's all Singer.
No, that's all you guys. On our way to 50,000. Thank you to the Notre Dame fans. And to the amazing talent that I have around me, because there's no way that we could do this number right here and have me talk for, over an hour and 10 minutes. I need these handsome guys, on the screen with me to carry the show. So do appreciate everyone watching today's show. Hit that thumbs up, of course, before you get out of here. Subscribe to our channel if you have not done so yet. Head over to blueandgold.com for much more Notre Dame football and recruiting coverage. I'm Mike Singer, and signing off for Tim Hyde and Mike Goolsby. Appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your week, or have a great start to your week. How about that? See you guys.